At last, the Gregory party have escaped from the magic island of Euclidia. After searching around the world 14 years for her little daughter Joan, Mrs. Gregory found her on the magic island, a weird colony of brilliant though mad scientists. Mrs. Gregory's yacht was captured and held at the island, with Captain Bradford, Jerry Hall, and the crew all prisoners. Then another boat with Johnson, trusted employee of Mrs. Gregory in command, attempted to rescue them, and this boat was also captured. Through the efforts of Jerry and Joan, most of the island machinery was disabled, and the party escaped just after dark. It is only a few minutes since the powerful diesel-motored cruiser swept away from the island, and Mrs. Gregory, Captain Tex Bradford, Jerry Hall, and Joan Gregory talk it over in the radio cabin.
I'm quite all right now, Mother dear.
Now, Joan, your feet are terribly cut up from climbing that concrete chute, and you're dripping wet. Please come into my cabin and put on some dry clothes.
Your mother's right, Joan. Take her in, Pat, and dress those feet a little. Then with some warm, dry clothes on, she can come back here and we'll compare notes.
That's right, Joan. You'd better go in and change your clothes.
Very well, Jerry, if you say so.
See there, Mrs. Gregory? She does just what I tell her.
I can't really blame her for that, Jerry. You and Joan certainly proved you could take care of yourselves when you got us off that mad island. Come, Joan, dear. We'll only be a moment.
Hurry back, Joan. Oh, Buster, we can't tell our story pretty soon.
Oh, we will hurry, Jerry.
Gee, Tex, Joan's a swell girl. I wish you could have seen her climbing up that concrete thing we had to crawl through for 50 feet.
Yes, I can see your feet now, kid. I've got a pretty good idea what it must have been like. We'll just put a little dressing on.
Oh, my feet are all right.
Well, maybe, but they'll be mighty sore tomorrow when the excitement is all over. Now, just sit still and let me fix you up.
Oh, well, all right. Gee, but we sure saw things and did things on that funny island. Why, when we were down there, and ouch!
Thought those feet weren't sore.
Well, maybe they are. Oh, maybe they're a little tender.
Yes, I thought so. Now, I'll have this dressing on in a minute. And that salve will help a lot. Then you get into some dry clothes.
Oh, golly whiskers. I don't need any dry clothes.
Yes, you do. Now, that'll hold those feet for a while. Now, you get over there and put on that old sweater and pair of pants of mine. They may not fit any too well, but they'll be dry anyhow.
Okay, Tex. I guess that would be smart.
I'm going to try and raise Johnson and tell him we're away from the island and free to talk now. From what you and Joan said about conditions on the island, we ought to be safe from any danger of pursuit for several hours.
Well, I'll keep wrapping these pants of yours around me. Maybe I'll find some way to get them tied off so they'll stay up.
All right, son. Now I'll try for Johnson. J24Y. Calling J12C. Captain Bradford on J24Y to Johnson. Hello, Johnson. Hello, J12C. Trying to save my power. Call me if you're getting this signal. J24Y to J12C.
He doesn't answer very fast.
Well, I don't know what kind of set he's got to work with on that boat he's on now. Probably a freighter with a regular radio operator, and he'll call Johnson to the mic when he gets a chance.
Here we are again.
Yes, and do I not look nice in Mother's dress?
Oh, you're a knockout, Joan.
Oh, Jerry, you look so funny.
Oh, they're the captain's pants. He made me put them on.
Oh, they look all right, Jerry.
Yeah, they must.
Don't worry about the looks, Jerry. They're warm and dry, and if you don't have to run very fast, I guess they'll stay on.
Well, golly whiskers.
Now, Jerry, do not be angry. You look very nice to me.
And a baby?
Oh, Jerry, how often have I told you that
You are not a baby. Oh, I know.
That sounds natural.
And now that we have a few minutes with nothing to do but wait and see how far our fuel will carry us, suppose we try to straighten out some of the things which happened to us.
Well, Jerry and I can tell our experiences very quickly, but first we would like to hear what happened to you and the captain while we were down inside the island.
Yeah, when Joan and I left the yacht, you were just transferring the stuff to this boat.
Well, we completed the transfer through the holes in the hulls of the two boats and waited on the yacht until it was dark. Then we all went into the radio cabin. It was lined with Euclidean cloth, remember? It was perfectly soundproof.
Yeah, we know that. But how did you get from the yacht to this boat when the time came?
We knew that the Euclideans would have a guard on the pier watching the yacht, and we were afraid they knew that you two were down inside the island, so we tried to make it appear you were on the yacht.
They knew where Jerry and I were most of the time, though the alarm gong did ring frantically from one level to another as they tried to locate us when we were escaping.
There, Tex, didn't I tell you those bells meant they were chasing Jerry and Joan from one level to another?
Looks like you were right, Pat. Well, we knew we had to get on this boat to make our escape, and so when it was dark, we cut through the floor of the radio cabin and went down into the hold and transferred to the other boat, this boat, through those holes. Then we waited for word from you kids.
Oh, and you took the yacht radio with you down into the hole of this boat, didn't you? And those homing pigeons.
Yes, Jerry. We waited and waited. Then we heard the signal to submerge the island, and 2 Euclidean guards came aboard the yacht. Fortunately, they didn't look into any cabin or try to speak to anybody. They simply went to the rail and cut the lines which lashed the 2 boats together.
Gee, that was slick, Tex. And you were ready, listening with the radio hot, when Joan and I sent the message to Johnson from the island radio room.
Right, Jerry.
You and Mother did it all very cleverly, Captain Tex.
We only did the natural thing, dear. In fact, the only thing. We didn't have much choice about our activities. Now, you two tell us what happened to you.
Well, when we left here, we went
down inside
Hey, wait a minute. One at a time.
Well, thank you, Jerry.
We went down
inside the island and
golly whiskers.
I think we'd better referee this thing, Pat.
Looks like it might expedite matters. Suppose you start, Joan.
Yes, Mother. As you know, Jerry and I had 2 of the 300-second ray guns, which I had taken from the commander when gas put the Euclideans in the laboratory to sleep. So we felt reasonably safe. But the problem was how to get down inside the island without exciting suspicion, as we knew the Euclidean guard in the voice control chamber on the surface was hearing everything we said as we walked across the island. But Jerry solved that very nicely.
How was that, Jerry?
Well, I just talked good and loud about the formula you had given me to wake these men up with, and how we had to hurry to the laboratory with it. Of course, the guard heard me, and when Joan asked for the elevator, she got it quick.
That was very quick thinking, Jerry.
Oh, Jerry was very clever, Mother.
Oh, you finally got that straightened out anyway.
Jerry. Well, then we went into the sound channel on the 5th level, where we could talk in privacy. And I showed Jerry the scale model of the island. And from it, we planned our attack on the vital parts of the power and control system.
Say, you two kids work just like a machine. Go on.
But just as Joan and I were ready to leave for the power room, one of the Euclidean guards came in. Joan fired her ray gun like she'd shot me, and I fell down. Joan sent for the guard for orders about me, and we got out of there.
And then we climbed down the ladder inside the elevator shaft to the 100-foot level.
50 feet down a dark elevator shaft?
Yes, Mother. We landed safely, however. And by using the ray on a guard, we were able to get into the power rooms and shut off the electricity and flood the power rooms. And as Jerry flooded the rooms, I took out the fuses and threw them in the water.
Great work, kids. But how about this submerging operation they just completed as we get away? How did they do that without power?
I wondered about that, Joan, and you were too busy to tell me.
The island may be submerged to a depth of 40 feet by gravity, aided by reserve emergency tanks of compressed air.
Those Euclideans certainly thought of everything. But how did you get out of the lower level after the rooms were flooded?
Well, that's where we had to climb 50 feet up the inside of a concrete and steel chute. It was like a corkscrew, but almost straight up.
And that is where we hurt our hands and feet so badly. I could never have reached the platform but for Jerry helping me.
Then we just took a chance and used a private elevator from the 5th level to the surface. And it comes up inside the control room. Joan used a ray gun to put another guard to sleep there. And we sent a message to Johnson that you heard.
It was while Jerry and I were climbing up that terrible upright tunnel that you heard most of the signals ringing as they rushed from floor to floor trying to locate us.
Gee, I hated to leave the commander in that laboratory asleep with G-47, those other Euclideans. But Joan figured she would be safe there. And when we came back to take over the island, we could rescue her. She sure did a big thing when she let herself be put to sleep so we could escape.
Yes, you bet she did. And we'll see that she's taken care of one of these days. Just as we'll take care of everybody on that island who wants to lead a decent life in our world.
I think it's only G-47 and a few of his assistants who are really criminals. The rest are merely prisoners, doing the bidding of the scientists.
That is true, Mother. The prisoner we brought from the control room is one of the scientists, however. One of the chief electrical engineers. And he is very dangerous and clever.
Gee, have you got him locked up good, Tex?
Locked up and guarded. The skipper and McLeod will handle him without any trouble.
Well, that is the end of our story, I think, Captain.
No, it isn't, Joan. It's only the beginning. We've got to know a lot about that island before we consider ourselves safely away.
Yes, Joan, dear. For one thing, how long will the island remain submerged and more or less helpless?
That will depend greatly on how long the captain's formula will keep them asleep.
What if help doesn't arrive right away? I mean, what if we're without fuel and have to depend on what little way we can make with our makeshift sail? How much time will we have before the Euclideans will send a submarine or an airplane out after us?
I think not later than daylight, even with most of the scientists asleep.
Can they pump out those lower chambers and raise the island again that soon?
Oh, yes, Captain. If any of the men left active understand it, and they undoubtedly will. You see, they carry enough reserve compressed air to drive the water out and raise the island without any electricity.
Golly, whiskers. Then we may not be doing so good after all.
Johnson to J24Y.
Quiet, everybody now. Hello, Johnson. Bradford. We're safely off the island, but short of fuel. Go ahead.
Heading for Los Angeles. Our fuel supply nearly exhausted. Left the lighted buoy on your course. We'll rush other aid as soon as possible. Give further news later. That's all. Hold your set on 6 meters. Better for this receiver. Sorry. That's all.
Gee, he's not much help.
Oh, Mother, what will we do now?
Now, steady, kids, till I work this out. Johnson said 6 meters. He knows this set it weak at 6 meters. Something.
Tex, code. Try every 6th letter. The 6 is for some good reason.
Right, Pat. Every 6th letter. Fuel. Buoy. Other. Farther.
Gee, that means he left a lighted buoy on our course with an oil drum tied to it.
And that other father means he's leaving lighted oil drums all along our course.
Oh, that Johnson is a wonderful man.
You bet he is. And we'll be a lot of miles from Euclidia at daylight.
The Gregory boat is nearly 50 miles from the Magic Island. It is after 9 o'clock at night, with the warm, sluggish darkness of the subtropics hanging over the water, as the big diesel-motored cruiser plows steadily northward toward the regular steamer lanes and California. The escape from the island was entirely successful, but the Gregory boat is short of fuel, and those on board have no guarantee as to their margin of safety before the Euclidean scientists on the island repair the damage done by Jerry and Joan and set out after the boat. Mrs. Gregory and her daughter Joan are in the radio cabin, listening constantly for a message from Johnson, who is speeding through the South Pacific somewhere ahead of them. Captain Bradford and Jerry are standing in the pilot house on the boat, watching carefully for any sign of light on their course.
How much farther can we go on the oil we got, Tex?
Not very far, kid. I'd say 5 miles to boat.
Gee, are you sure about that code message of Johnson's?
Couldn't miss it, Jerry. Johnson said he'd leave a trail of oil drums with lighted buoys on his course. He wasn't further than this when he dropped the first one according to his message.
Then we ought to see it pretty soon, if it hasn't been carried away off the course.
No, not much danger of that. There's no wind, and I've been setting our course to compensate for what little drift there is.
Just the same, I'm getting kind of worried. We couldn't do any more than hold her on a course with the little breeze we got.
I know it, Jerry, but we'll just have to hang on and see what happens. Then if we do run out and haven't picked up the drum, we'll simply have to radio Johnson and ask him to turn that boat around and come after us.
But his boat's on a scheduled run, and they've lost a lot of time over us already.
Yeah, true, but they'll come back if they have to. Of course, it's better for us if they don't, as Johnson is getting nearer a regular steamer lane all the time. And if he can catch a fast mail boat to Los Angeles, I can get in there and get busy on my formula.
But if we get fuel enough, we can make better time on this boat than anything on the ocean. Why wouldn't it be better for them to wait for us and load us with fuel than let us tear on into Los Angeles?
Well, you see, Jerry, well, I didn't want to alarm Pat and Joan with this, but Johnson's playing smart in more ways than one. He's got a mighty good idea of the sort of thing we've been up against. And he's afraid we'll still get caught and dragged back to that island. And if that happens, he wants to be free to go on into Los Angeles, get that formula compounded, come back to do a real job of wiping out that island.
Oh, gee. Do you think there's any real danger of us getting caught before we get far enough away from the Magic Island?
Yes, Jerry, I do. We saw enough things there to warn us that almost anything is possible where G-47 and his men are concerned.
Yeah. I guess that's right, all right. Maybe even Johnson hasn't got as much chance of getting away as he thinks he has.
Why not?
Well, we had the Euclideans thinking Johnson was on board this boat. But in the last hour, we've been sending messages to him. And G-47 will know where Johnson is.
No, not exactly, he won't. You notice that Johnson refuses to even tell us what his position is. Though the instruments on the island would register his exact course from the island, I don't think they could even guess how far he may be along that course. They don't know the power of the set he's using.
Oh, golly, Tex, this is the most mixed-up thing I ever heard of.
Captain.
Yes, Skipper, what is it?
Light.
Gee, Tex, a light. Let's go see what it's all about.
Where away, Skipper?
Starboard.
Off the beam?
Aye.
Hey, I don't see anything out there.
Wait a minute now, wait. I do. Yes, that's it. Signal the engine room for half speed. Throw that wheel hard over. That's a lighted buoy on an oil drum we've got to pick up.
Aye.
Hey, Tex, where you going?
Into the cabin. Come on, kid, we'll do a little figuring.
Are we changing our course, Tex? I heard the engine room telegraph.
Yes, we're circling to pick up the first of the drums of oil Johnson dropped for us.
Oh, you have seen the lighted buoy then?
Oh, no, the skipper saw it. You know, that old guy may not talk much, but he navigates with his eyes open.
You're right, Jerry. That's why the skipper is so valuable.
Now we've got to do a little scout practice on the chart here and see why that buoy should be so far off our course.
Hey, the motors have stopped. We must be getting ready to pick up that oil drum.
Sounded to me more like we've run out of fuel.
Yes, that's about it. Run out on deck, will you, Jerry, and help McLeod and the skipper haul that drum aboard? You may have to rig up a little canvas, too, to reach it if the fuel's going.
Aye, aye, Cap. Come on, Joan.
Oh, may I, Mother?
Of course, dear. Stop in my cabin and put on a heavy sweater, though. You've had enough exposure.
Oh, but it's warm out on deck, Mother.
You come on and do what your mother says.
Yes, Jerry, of course.
You've got something on your mind. Tex, what is it?
Well, I don't like that running out of fuel, for one thing, and that drum being so far off our course for another. We're not out of the woods yet, Pat.
But Johnson's last message sounded confident enough.
Yes, I know, but, well, Pat, I wasn't going to tell you.
Yes, Tex?
And I told Jerry not to discuss it in front of you, but things lack a whole lot of being perfect for our getting away safely.
I know there's a certain element of danger, Tex, but after what we've been through on that island...
Exactly, dear. After what we've been through on that island, we don't want any more of it.
You don't think there's much chance of those Euclideans being able to stop us now, do you?
Well, we're only 50 miles from the island. If those chemists wake up while we're within striking distance, or if the remaining guards can manage to get that submerged island drained out and raised, well, they're coming after us.
Then, if you think things are that dangerous, why not send a hurry-up call to Johnson? Have that boat put about and run back for us.
Yes, that's what Jerry asked me, but it's no good. Johnson is taking chances on our picking up barely enough fuel from these boys. And for all we know, he hasn't enough large drums aboard to dump sufficient oil out for us. Yet, in spite of all that, he keeps running away from us.
Well, I'm not sure I understand what he's doing, Tex.
I do, perfectly. He knows our danger, and he knows that even if we are caught again, he can go into Los Angeles, have my universal solvent formula compounded, and come back here with enough help to finish that island. Well, if he came back here now and was caught with us, well...
Yes, I understand.
Sorry, Pat, but it's about the way it looks to me.
Listen.
Sounded like the wind started.
Yes. They must be getting ready to pick up the oil drum.
Guess we had speed enough to carry us around to that buoy. They couldn't have rigged a sail and made it in this time.
Jerry is helping the skipper and Mr. McLeod take a drum of oil aboard, Captain Bradford.
We thought that was what the noise was, Joan.
Yes, dear. But how did we get to it so quickly?
The buoy was not as far off our course as it appeared to be. The light on it was very small and dim. It was actually not more than 100 yards away when the skipper sighted it.
It relieves my mind about more than the oil.
You mean about being off your course?
Yes, at least we know we haven't forgotten how to navigate.
How long will that amount of oil last, Captain?
I can't very well tell you until I see how large the drum is.
Oh, that was stupid of me, wasn't it?
Did you notice the size, dear?
Well, Mother, it was still hidden down in that dark water. I could not see it. And Jerry sent me in here to tell you that we had found it.
No, that's all right, Joan. We'll soon know how large it is.
I will go and find out, Captain.
Don't bother, Joan. Jerry will come in as soon as they get the engine room hatch. As soon as they get it down there. I don't hear the winch. It must be over the hatch. It won't take long. It's going below now. It's landed, and none too gently from the sound.
Oh, it must have been a large drum.
I sure hope so.
How rapidly does this boat use up the fuel oil, Captain?
I'm not sure without checking with Mac, but I know one barrel won't take us very far.
Well, we got the barrel of oil in the hole, all right. Mac and the skipper are going to put it into the tank as fast as they can.
How big was it, Jerry?
Well, Mac said it looked like 55 gallons to him.
Oh, that won't take us very far, will it, Tex?
No, not very, but Johnson knows how this boat burns it, and I told him we'd be running wide open. So he should drop those things overboard for us pretty often.
Do you think it will take us long to start the boat again, Captain?
Why, getting nervous, Joan?
Yes, I am. We are so near that awful Euclidia, and they have so many powerful things with which to reach us.
Oh, but most of those guys are asleep. And the ones that aren't are busy trying to raise that island after you and I flooded the lower levels.
You can't be sure how long that gas from your formula will keep them asleep, will you, Tex?
No, that would depend on the quantity of it they mixed up. The size of the room, and how soon they were given fresh air. Oh, a lot of things. But it should last for several more hours.
And then there is the possibility of raising the island and using the submarines to chase us, or even the airplanes. None of the aviation engineers were in the gas-filled chamber. They would all be free to set out after us the moment the surface of the island cleared the water.
Oh, you can all think of the nicest things. Now, why not quit hanging crepe and agree that we're away from the island? That's something. And we've got some more fuel. That's something else. It's not going to help things to sit around here with long faces and feel sorry for ourselves.
You're right, Jerry, but After all, Joan knows all about the island. And 50 miles or 100 miles doesn't guarantee us much safety.
Well, let's quit worrying about it for the time anyway. Any minute now, the motors will start. We'll have their husky roar anyway to help us out.
Yes, Skipper?
Captain.
Come in, Skipper. Got the oil in the tanks yet?
No.
Why not? Trouble?
Aye.
Serious?
Bad.
Right with you, Skipper. Shove off. You three, stay here till I get back.
Yes, Tex, we will.
Gee, I wonder what's up now.
Well, probably they can't get the oil drum open. I've seen that happen time and time before.
But surely there is some way.
Well, if there is, Tex will find it. I know those things can be dangerous, though.
In what way can they be dangerous, Jerry?
Well, there's no telling how much gas there is in one, especially if the oil doesn't fill it tight. And if you're not careful with wrenches and hammers, sometimes a spark will blow one up.
I think Tex has handled several of them. We haven't much to worry about, though our time is awfully precious right now.
It's funny we don't hear them working on it. I'm going to...
Oh, no, Jerry. Stay here. You know the captain said for us to stay here in the cabin.
But golly whiskers.
I think you should stay, Jerry. For some reason, Tex wanted you to, and his reasons are usually very good ones.
Oh, okay, Mrs. Bradford, I'm sorry. But, well, I don't like to just sit here and do nothing. I'm getting the jitters.
I, too, have the jitters, Jerry.
Oh, what was it, Tex?
Couldn't they get the oil drum open?
Captain Bradford, your face, it looks like a thundercloud.
Tex. Oh, shut that door and come in here. Now, tell us quickly, what's the matter?
Well, that oil drum. They got it open all right.
Yes, and then what?
But we'll never run those motors on that oil.
Was it not the right kind of oil, Captain?
It wasn't oil at all. It was turpentine.
Turpentine?
Oh, Tex. Then we can't move.
No, we can't move. And we've gone just as far from that island as we're liable to go.
When the powerful diesel-motored cruiser bearing the Gregory party swept away from the Magic Island, their escape seemed perfect. With only enough oil on board to run the motors a short time, a radio message from Johnson saying he was dropping drums of oil with lighted buoys along their course cheered them on. Then, just 50 miles from Euclidia, the motors sputtered and went dead. And barely in time, the first oil drum was sighted and picked up. But it's now 3 hours later, nearly midnight, and the motors of the Gregory boat have not turned over since the oil drum was taken aboard. They will never run on the oil from that drum, because the drum contained not oil, but turpentine. In the inky blackness of the subtropic night, Captain Bradford and Jerry stand at the rail, near the stern of the helpless boat.
Gee, Tex, we've only made about 2 miles in the last 3 hours. That won't do us any good.
I know it, Jerry, but there isn't a thing we can do about it. That little scrap of sail is all we can hang on her. And even in a stiff breeze, we couldn't make over 4 or 5 knots. With this deadly calm that's all around us, we're lucky to hold her steady.
Why can't we add more sail, Tex? Oh, we've got plenty of canvas, and we could lash a long spar to the mast and hang it on there. It might not look so good, but it'd catch a lot more wind than that dinky little thing.
I don't think I haven't thought of all those things, Jerry. That would only make matters worse if we got a real breeze.
How come? I thought the more sail, the more speed.
Well, that's okay up to a certain point. And on a vessel, it was intended for sail. But the mast on this boat was only an afterthought, to use as a radio aerial, and for a little auxiliary sail at times. If you really hung enough canvas on that mast to kick this boat along at good speed, she'd bury her nose so deep we'd never come up. The mast is too far forward. We haven't got keel enough for a canoe. Just won't handle as a sailboat.
Gee, Captain Bradford, it doesn't look so hot for us.
No, kid. We could be a lot better off than we are now.
8 bells, midnight. And we're just about as close to that island as we were when we picked up that oil drum 3 hours ago.
Afraid so, Jerry. We haven't made more than a couple of miles. 3 at the most.
And those Euclidean guys have had 3 hours to wake up and start doing things about catching us.
Yes, and I think that formula of mine, which put them to sleep, might be wearing off any time now, too.
Don't you think we ought to call Johnson, Tex?
I hate to do it. Means that steamer will have to turn around, bring him back here to us, and then probably be captured along with Johnson and all the rest of them.
I'm sorry for Mrs. Gregory.
Yeah, it's been mighty hard on her, all right.
Well, it doesn't matter so much about you and me. After all, we're men, and we can stand a lot more than women can. But poor Mrs. Gregory's been hunting for Joan all over the world for 14 years. And now she's found her, well, it looks like maybe she'll never get back home.
Well, we mustn't give up, kid. We found that crazy island, which the rest of the world didn't know existed. We spent a lot of days there, and we got away. That's more than anybody else ever did.
Yeah, but don't forget about the old sailor they turned loose just long enough for him to broadcast a radio message that brought us here. They took him back to the island, and, Well, that was the end of him.
Yes, I know, but nothing like that's going to happen to us.
And say, we never did find the old sailor's diary. I wish Joan and I could have had time to look for it when we went down inside the island.
No, it's no use. Anyway, I think Joan knows as much or more about that place as that poor old man ever did.
Oh, gee, I just can't stand here and look at the dark any longer.
Well, what else can we do?
Well, we can walk around the deck. That's better than standing still.
Well, all right, here we go, son. May not do any good, but it certainly can't hurt anything. I'm getting like you. I've got to do something to keep from thinking what a jam we're in.
Well, I guess we might just as well stand at the rail and watch the stars again for a while. Well, I thought I couldn't stand still, and now I'm getting tired of this walking. Well, we must have gone around the deck hundreds of times, Tex.
Yes, we've been on it for hours, son. I only hope Joan and her mother are getting some sleep. They put out the light in their cabin a couple of hours ago. Good thing we had those oil lights on board. Otherwise, we'd have to stay in the dark all the time to save the juice for the radio.
Gee, 8 bells again. 4 o'clock in the morning. We've walked around that deck for 4 hours.
Yes, but our walking was like our thinking. We didn't get anywhere.
Hey, look. The light in Mrs. Gregory's cabin.
Oh, we must have kept them awake walking around this deck.
I'll bet they weren't any more asleep than we were.
No, I expect not. Hasn't been a very restful night for anyone.
Oh, Tex. Jerry,
Hello?
Yes, Pat?
come here, you two. Will you please?
Sure. Coming right up.
What's the matter, Pat? Something bothering you and Joan?
Nothing more than usual, Tex. It's just this waiting. Waiting. Waiting for what?
Haven't you and Joan been able to sleep at all?
Why, oh, you're all dressed, Mrs. Gregory. I'll bet you didn't even try to sleep.
Yes, I did, Jerry. But it wasn't any good.
Is Joan dressed, too?
Yes. Joan, dear.
Yes, Mother?
Come out on deck, dear. We may just as well talk to Tex and Jerry as to stay in there alone and worry.
I think there is no value in worrying. We can do nothing but wait.
Oh, golly whiskers. What can we do but worry while we're waiting?
I haven't been able to think of anything sensible to do.
I guess none of us have been any too bright about that. It'll soon be daylight. We may be able to hail a passing ship then.
And the Euclideans will surely be fully recovered from the effects of your gas, Captain. And they will be out here after us.
Well, we'd be just as well off on that crazy island as we are out here drifting around in the Pacific Ocean.
But the Euclideans will not be inclined to treat us kindly if they take us back there now.
I've been wondering just what their attitude will be.
You don't think they'd do anything terrible to us, do you?
I think our lives will be safe until G47 gets the captain's formula. But they have many ways of making life very unpleasant.
Yeah, and I'll bet old G47 remembers them all for us.
Well, let's walk around the deck. Jerry and I put in 4 hours at it, and it does help to pass the time away.
I'll say we walked around the deck. I was going to count how many times we did, but I lost track somehow.
I will count the revolutions we complete, Jerry, and you figure how far we travel. That will give us something to do at least.
Gee, I'm all in.
I, too, am very tired.
How about you, Pat?
I think this is as far as I care to go. It's broad daylight now, and we've seen nothing but water. And then more water.
Oh, let's go in the cabin and sit down a while.
Might as well, I guess.
8 bells. 8 o'clock in the morning. And we are very little farther from the island than we were at 9 o'clock last night.
How far has that sail actually carried us, Tex?
Oh, maybe 20, 25 miles in the 11 hours.
Oh,
Golly, we might as well be standing still.
Well, let's go in the cabin. Ought to be a little juice left in the batteries. I'm afraid the time has come for that last message to Johnson. Go on in, everybody.
Well, I'll find the oil lamp and light it.
I'll lie down and let you do the work, Tex.
Go ahead, Pat. Never mind the light, Jerry. We'll leave this door open. The daylight is good enough. We may even need a little bit of oil in the lamps pretty badly before we get out of this.
Okay, Tex.
I will just sit here on the couch with Mother. My feet do not feel very comfortable.
I wouldn't think so. Now, you three keep quiet, as I'll likely get a mighty weak signal out of this thing if I get any at all.
Gee, there's not much juice there. The tubes aren't even getting hot.
Going to be awful slow work if we ever get 'em hot.
You're going to tell Johnson our position is hopeless, aren't you, Tex? And see if he can't turn that boat around and come after us.
You know, I hate to do it, Pat, but we don't seem to have any choice. Quiet now. I'm going to try it. J24Y to J12C. Hello, J12C. Bradford to Johnson. Hello? Hello, Johnson. QSN? Johnson. QSN, Bradford.
I don't think you're getting out far enough, Tex.
Afraid you're right, kid. We'll just leave it open a minute and see if we can pick up anything before the batteries die entirely out.
I am very much afraid, Captain Bradford, that the Euclideans will have their radios operating by this time, and your message will be picked up.
Tex knows that, dear. But it doesn't matter now. We're almost sure to get caught after all these hours. And if we can get one last message to Johnson, it will give us a thread of hope at least.
Hey, listen, everybody.
What is it, kid?
I mean, quiet. Listen for something.
Yes, I hear it.
It sounds like an airplane.
But where would an airplane come from?
From Euclidia, Jerry.
Quiet, everybody. Yep, that's it, all right. Well, we did our best.
But, Tex, there may be some hope. That plane doesn't have to be from Euclidia.
Oh, I guess there isn't any other place it could be from.
Euclidean speed plane to Gregory Boat.
Oh, it is a Euclidean plane.
Euclidean plane to Captain Bradford. Hello, Bradford. Waiting.
Will you answer him, Tex?
Guess I'd better.
Yeah, he might drop a bomb on us if you don't.
Bradford to plane. Go ahead.
You will drop your sail. Stand by. Lay to for submarine. Drop your bow anchor. You will be towed to Euclidia.
Lay to and stand by for boarding. We'll drop sail.
It is well. That is all. Remember that resistance on your part can mean but one thing. That is all.
Hey, I'm going out and get a look at that plane.
No, kid, you stay here. Pat, you and Joan run and tell the skipper and McLeod to take off the canvas and drop the bow anchor.
We will do it at once, Captain.
What are you and Jerry going to do, Tex?
I've just got an idea. Now, don't worry. We won't do anything foolish. Now, run along and tell the skipper.
We'll hurry, Tex.
Now, what do you want me to do?
Nothing, kid. I just wanted to get Pat and Joan out of here a minute while I tell you something that may prove mighty dangerous to you. But I've got an idea that when we land on the Magic Island this time, we're really going to be prisoners. We may be separated. So there's a few things you'll have to know.
Okay, I'm ready. What are they?
There goes the anchor. I wonder how long it'll be before that sub picks us up.
Commander S1 to Captain Bradford. S1 to the Gregory boat.
Gee, Tex, it's the same girl commander who helped us escape.
Yeah, but she can't do us any good now.
Captain Bradford, you will answer at once. I can hear your open beam.
Bradford to Commander S1. So we meet again. The bow anchor is out for you. Sail being taken down. That all?
That is all. You were wise to follow instructions. Captain, have you a landing stage aboard?
I have. On the port side.
You will make it ready at once. I will personally board you. That is all.
Gee, Tex, the commander's coming aboard herself.
Yeah, she's going to make sure we don't try any tricks.
No, Tex, she's coming aboard so she can get a chance to talk to us before we get back to the island. She's going to help us out.
I'm afraid not, Jerry. When we get back to Euclidia this time, we're done for.
Don't you believe it. That girl's on our side. You'll see when she gets here.
It was easy enough for the Gregory party to find the magic island of Euclidia, but it seems impossible for them to leave it. When Jerry and Joan rendered most of the equipment on the island useless, and the chemical formula of Captain Bradford's put many of the Euclideans to sleep, the Gregory boat left the island in safety. However, they ran out of fuel oil after an hour's run, and a drum of oil left floating on their course proved to be not oil, but turpentine. So the helpless boat heaves to and is standing by now to be boarded and towed back to Euclidia by a submarine. Jerry and Joan, Mrs. Gregory, and Captain Bradford stand at the rail, waiting for the submarine.
But I tell you, that woman submarine commander's a good friend of ours.
Yeah, but don't be too sure of that, Jerry. She's coming out to capture us, isn't she?
That is something she cannot refuse to do, Captain Bradford. Her safety and any value she might have as a friend lie in the fact that the Euclideans do not suspect her.
I think that's reasonable enough, Tex.
Well, I'm not so sure, Pat.
Well, we haven't any choice. We're going to be towed back to G47 and his mad colony, and I, for one, have no interest in the person who takes us back.
Oh, you mustn't feel so hopeless, Mrs. Gregory. Why, that girl let the gas in the chemical laboratory put her to sleep just so she could help us before. Maybe she'll find some way to help us again.
You are right, Jerry. Commander S1 will aid us again if the opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, but I've got a notion that after the way we handled him, old G47 is going to make it his business to see that no such opportunity gets a chance to present itself.
I wonder how close the sub was when she called us on the radio.
Would there be any way of knowing that, Tex?
No, and it wouldn't do any good if we did know. Thinking about getting a last-minute message to Johnson, weren't you, Jerry?
Yeah, I thought we might as well try it.
That would be of no help, Jerry. Johnson is too far away to come to our assistance now.
Not only that, but the batteries are so weak the set probably won't work more than a few miles.
Johnson might be trying to call us, though. Don't you think one of us should stay in the cabin with the radio?
Well, I'll go in if you want me to, sir.
And I will go with you, Jerry.
Okay, Joan, come on.
Hold it a minute.
Yeah?
You and I'll stay here by this landing stage, kid. Let Joan and her mother go in the cabin and listen to the set. They can watch the sub through the porthole. It might be just as well for our party to be split up at this time.
Tex, what do you expect?
Oh, anything from these crazy Euclideans. But it's just possible Jerry and I might see something to be done.
I think that is well, Mother. We will go. You must be diplomatic, Jerry, and do nothing to irritate the commander.
You'll be careful, won't you, Tex?
Why, sure, honey. Don't worry. Go with Joan.
Hey, what do you think we can do when the submarine gets ready to board us?
Nothing, son. Not a thing. But I'm not sure what kind of treatment we expect from the crew of the submarine. And if anything not so good happens, just as well to have Joan and Pat out of the way.
Now, look, Tex. I know that girl's on our side, and there's no use worrying about it. She runs that boat all alone with a one-man crew, and he'll have to stay with the boat. So she'll come aboard here alone, and she won't do anything to hurt us.
You mean she did run the boat alone when you and Joan rode in the submarine with her? But G-47 and his scientists will be plenty sore now. There may be a half a dozen up on that boat.
Oh, what could they do to us?
They could decide that it was just a waste of time to tow this boat back to the Magic Island.
You mean they'd sink the boat?
Yeah, and they'd forget to take us off of it before they sunk it.
Gee whiz. But your formula, Tex. They can't do anything to you until they get the formula.
I'm not entirely sure they haven't got it.
Oh, they couldn't have it. We know Johnson got the message off the pigeons we sent, and that's... Hey, the boat's rocking a whole lot more.
Yes, I think your girlfriend and her submarine are playing around under us here somewhere now.
Golly, whiskers. There it is, Tex. There's the nose of the sub.
Yes, sir. Sticking straight up out of the water. We could almost reach out and touch it.
Better not. They'll be throwing open the port and the nose of it in a minute, and that thing's plenty heavy.
Look how it stands there, Jerry. Steady as a rock. Those Euclideans certainly know their stabilization principles.
I think I heard a noise inside the nose of that thing. They must be ready to open it. Boy, look at that. The whole end of it opens up.
They sure hit that landing stage neatly.
Here comes the commander.
You were right, Jerry. She is one of the most beautiful girls I ever saw. Well, we'd better help her up to the landing stage.
That will not be necessary. I personally stabilized the submarine at this point. I can easily step to the landing stage.
Mighty independent, isn't she?
She's coming aboard alone, too. What did I tell you?
I hope you're right. Sorry we can't offer you more hospitality, Commander, but we're rather helpless here.
You need not apologize, Captain Bradford. I would hardly expect more from one who would attempt such a foolhardy escape as yours.
Well, we figured it was worth trying. Welcome to the ill-fated boat, Commander.
The ill fate of this boat is only in the contemplative stage now.
I got that one. You mean old G-47 hasn't had time yet to figure out anything mean enough to do to us.
For one who speaks such a strange jargon as you, Hall, your understanding is surprising at times.
Oh, I'm all here.
Enough of this. You understand what must happen, Captain?
I'm afraid I do. You are to tow us to the island, and again we will be prisoners.
Exactly. But there is more. This time you will not be allowed the freedom you previously enjoyed. You will be prisoners, in fact.
You mean we'll be put in those confinement cells?
Precisely.
Well, it will surprise me pleasantly if that's the worst that happens to us.
That will be only the beginning. Where are Mrs. Gregory and Cleostra?
Well, Mrs. Gregory and Joan are in the radio cabin.
Will you take me to them at once? We have little time.
Might I ask what you want to see them about?
I wish to explain to them that they will accompany me in the submarine, and I wish to explain to them privately.
You're going to take Pat and Joan with you in the sub?
And the captain and I stay here while you drag this boat in by the anchor?
Precisely. Will you hurry and take me to them?
No use arguing, Tex. She'd use that ray gun in a minute. And if anything happened to her, well, old SC-1 out there in the sub would finish us.
I was thinking of something else. Take the commander to the radio cabin, Jerry. I'll give orders to Mac and the skipper.
Okay, if you say so. This way, Commander. Watch your step on this deck. We got a couple of piles of canvas around here.
Hurry, Hall. I will need no guide.
Well, I guess you're never too old to learn. Skipper, McLeod.
Aye, Captain.
Come here a minute, will you?
I've just been waiting for a chance to come over and ask you if it's real or not.
That sub? It's real enough, all right.
Aye, and it just stands there with its nose out of the water while the girl captain looks out of a boat over there. This is a mad business, Captain Bradford.
That's mild, Mac. But here's the orders for the next step.
Right, Captain.
Now, we're to be towed back to Euclidia by that sub. They'll submerge and level it off. Then pick up our bow anchor with a magnetic fin in the stern of that thing. All we can do is to stand by and wait for results.
And when we get to the island, what then?
And that's what we can only guess at. But I wanted to warn you that once we're on the island, do just as you're told. And say nothing.
I understand all that right.
Well, that's all, Mac. Relay that to Skipper, will you?
Aye, sir. I will that. And if you don't understand it any better than I do, we both know.
Well, I can't say I blame you much. Oh, hello, Commander. Leaving us so soon?
I will return immediately to my command. The ladies are going to accompany me. It may afford me an opportunity to give them a bit of advice. Please see that they join me as quickly as possible. G47 will be very impatient.
Okay, Commander. I'll hurry them along.
Hurry, Joan, dear.
Coming, Mother.
The Commander's waiting for you, Pat.
I know it. But there were one or two little things I had to do before leaving.
I'm all ready now, Mother. Is Jerry not here yet?
I thought the kid was with you.
The commander sent him to your cabin for something. He will explain after we're gone. Oh, Tex, I'm so afraid of all this.
Well, keep your chin up, Pat. We'll be seeing you on the island in a couple of hours.
Yes, Mother. There is nothing to worry about. And we must hurry. The commander is motioning us to come aboard the submarine.
Come then, John, dear. We'll have to make the best of it. And goodbye, Tex.
Remember, Pat, chin up. Good luck.
Thank you, Captain.
Well, there she goes. I wonder where all this will end.
Hey, Tex.
Yes, Jerry, hurry up. The sub is submerging.
You'd better come here a minute. I got something to show you.
All right, son. Hold it there. I'm coming.
I'm around here in the radio cabin, Tex. I'm sorry I had to yell at you to come here, but I was afraid to be seen around on that side of the boat.
What's it all about, kid?
Well, I think we'd better shut the cabin door. We can't do any good by watching the top of the water anyhow.
You sound mighty mysterious. Well, there it is. What's on your mind?
Well, look. Now, you know Joan and I had a couple of those Euclidean 5-minute ray guns? And those two big ones we took off the guards?
Yes, I know. What about them?
Oh, that girl commander brought us some of the little cylinders you slip inside them. Kind of like a reload.
She did, huh? Well, have you got them all fixed up now?
Yeah, here they are. We'd better keep them hidden in our clothes. The commander was supposed to take them away from us.
Well, what excuse can she offer for not having them when we get back to the island?
Well, she said she could think of some excuse by the time we got there.
Sounds like the submarine must be hooked onto our bow anchor.
Yeah. The boat's beginning to roll a little. Guess we'll make it to the island in a couple of hours.
Yeah, and with these ray guns, Jerry, we've got a chance to do something after we get on the island. But listen, we'll have to watch our step.
The commander said to leave that guard tied up where we've got him till we get to the island.
Yeah, a lot of good he did us. Couldn't get a word out of him.
Well, we might have if we could have had only taken him farther from the... Hey, Tex, the boat's listing pretty bad.
Yeah, guess that bow anchor line is straining crooked.
No, something funny's going on here.
What's up, Skipper?
Listing.
Yeah, I just noticed it.
That anchor pulling crooked?
No.
What's wrong, then?
Leaking.
This boat's leaking?
Aye.
What from?
Hole.
We're shipping water through a hole? How did a hole get in this boat?
Chop.
Who could have done it?
Prisoner.
That Euclidean guard got loose. Well, where is he now?
Gone.
Golly whiskers.
The Magic Island is once more a dread name to Mrs. Gregory and her little band of friends. When they made their escape from the island through messages carried to another boat by homing pigeons, things looked favorable for a few short hours, but now the future is as black as it could be painted. Recaptured by a Euclidean submarine and being towed back to the island by their submerged captor, Tex Bradford and Jerry Hall are on the deck, wondering what their fate will be. Mrs. Gregory and her daughter Joan are aboard the submarine. As Jerry and Tex notice a sudden list to starboard, the old skipper comes running with the news that they're shipping water through a bad hole in the hull, chopped by the Euclidean who was their prisoner.
You're sure of that, Skipper?
Aye.
But how could that guy get loose? He was tied down with everything in the hold.
Wasn't enough, though, Jerry. He's gone. Kicked the side out of our boat doing it. We've got to do something about slapping a patch on that hole, or the submarine won't have to bother to tow us much farther.
Well, let's go and see what we can do about them, Tex.
Hold it a minute, Jerry. Think you and McLeod can get a patch over that hole, Skipper?
Aye.
But without motors, we haven't got any pumps.
Nope.
Well, shove off, Skipper, and get Mac working on that thing. If you can't stop it, we'll signal the sub to take us aboard.
Aye.
And sound out for us if you can't handle it.
Aye.
Gosh, the skipper looks like he'd just as soon drown as get on board that submarine.
Can't blame him much for that, son.
Things look pretty bad, don't they, Tex?
Well, they have looked brighter, but we won't give up.
I hope Mrs. Gregory and Joan are all right in that crazy Euclidean submarine.
Jerry, my optimism has led me into trouble more than once. But I can't believe that we won't find our way out of this somehow.
I'm not scared about it. Well, yes, I am. Plenty scared. But we've been on the island before, and we got away from it. Why can't we do it again?
Well, they won't be disposed to treat us quite so kindly this time.
I don't know about that. Now, look, Captain Bradford, I think there must be some mighty good reason for wanting us to stay alive. Maybe it's your formula for the universal solvent. Maybe it's for what they think we know about our world that they don't know. But whatever it is, if they were going to do anything to us, well, why don't they just sink this boat and let it go at that?
Well, that's one way to look at it, Jerry. And it's pleasant to look at it that way. They may decide to bring a little more pressure to bear on us this time.
You mean torture you into giving them the formula?
I wouldn't put it past them.
But, gee, Tex, you'd give up the formula before you'd let them... Well, wouldn't you?
Yes, Jerry, I'm afraid I would. There's very little satisfaction in being put out of the way entirely. If worst comes to worst, I'll give them the real formula and take a chance on beating them to the use of it.
Well, we'd have to try and make another escape then.
We'll have to do that anyway if they give us a chance, but it won't be so easy now.
Yeah, and they probably won't let us live on this boat.
Not much chance of that, unless they don't trust us on the island. After what you and Joan did to them, they're not sure how dangerous we may be.
Not really dangerous to them. Well, they could get rid of us in a minute if they wanted to.
Sure, but now they don't want to. They wouldn't be taking us back to the island so carefully.
Hey, the boat's riding better now.
Seems to be on more even keel. Mac and the skipper must have been able to stick something in that hole. Riding low in the water, though. We ship plenty of moisture.
Well, it can sink if it wants to, just so we land on something.
I managed to smuggle most of my instruments on this boat with us. They'll take those away the minute we get back to the island.
Well, I guess there's no use guessing. But golly whiskers, I'm nervous about what they're going to do to us.
We won't be in doubt long. At this speed, we'll reach the island in an hour, possibly less.
Hey, Tex. Tex, did you hear that?
I did hear something. Sounded like our radio. Jerry, maybe we've got juice enough left in those batteries to pick up a carrier wave.
No, it wasn't that. It was a ray gun.
A ray gun?
Yeah, one of those Euclidean ray guns, like the two Joan and I took away from that guard we took prisoner.
But where could it come from?
I don't know.
Oh, you must be imagining things, kid. That was a radio squeal.
No, it wasn't, Tex. I've heard all sorts of noises come out of radio sets, but none of them made my hair stand on end like this one did. There's something about the high whine of those ray guns. It sounds... There it goes again.
Yeah, I heard it plainly enough that time. Those things certainly have an unearthly wail. Where did it come from?
Sounded right under our feet.
How could it come from there? Will they work underwater?
Not very well, and not that loud.
I wonder.
What?
That Euclidean guard we had tied up in the hold.
But he's gone. Escaped when he cut that hole in the boat, just about daylight.
He's gone? Where did he go?
On board the sub, I suppose.
He couldn't have boarded that sub, Jerry. We saw the hatch and the nose open. No one went in there but that woman submarine commander and Mrs. Gregory and Joan.
No, not in the hatch.
Well, where else?
Well, those subs have an airlock. He could have been taken aboard while he was swimming underwater, and we couldn't possibly have seen him.
Then he's been in the water all the time. Now remember that we had no power. He could have ridden that rudder post for hours with comparative ease.
But who would he be shooting those ray guns at?
Maybe the skipper or Mac stuck their heads up over the stern.
No, they're still below.
Below, that's it, kid. Scatter for that stern hatch, quick, and walk on your toes. Now, don't make a sound.
What's up?
That Euclidean never left this boat.
He what?
I'm sure of it. He knocked that hole in the side to make it look like an escape. Then he hid in the hole until the skipper and Mac fixed the leak. Now that he's in no danger of drowning, he used that ray gun to put the boys to sleep. We'll meet him at the hatch and fix him up with a little nap.
We mustn't use a ray gun on him.
Why not?
Well, the girl sub-commander is supposed to have our ray guns. And if we use one now, this guy will know we still have them.
Good boy, Jerry. You think fast sometimes. All right, now look. We'll sneak up on each side of that companionway. He can't see us till he hits the deck with 1 foot. We'll let him have it.
But his ray gun.
Can't put more than one of us to sleep with one shot. And the other one can have him tapped on the air by that time.
Okay, Tex.
Now, not a sound till we land him.
Yeah. Gee. Whew. But that guy was hard to handle. Ah, Tex. Hey, Tex.
Feel a little sleepy, Jerry.
Oh, come on. Walk around with me. I'll help you.
That ray gun.
He just about hit the end of your fingers, but if you try hard, maybe you can walk it off and stay awake.
Not yet, but I'll try.
Oh, come on, then. Try.
Sure, I'll try.
Now, lean on me as heavy as you want to.
How did you fix our friend?
Well, I didn't have anything to hit him with, but I got a chance to jerk his head against the combing. He'll be quiet for a while.
Good boy, Jerry. Is the boat rolling a lot, or are my legs just unsteady?
Well, the water's beginning to boil around this rail. I'll bet that blamed sub is coming up again.
No, it feels like we've lost seaway.
Well, I should have noticed that a long time ago. We're not making any way at all. They've dropped our bow anchor. And there goes the nose of the blame thing.
You know, someday that girl's going to tip a boat over. Coming up under like a whale.
Oh, not that girl. She's too smart. And what she can't do with that submarine isn't worth doing.
You know, Jerry, that's the weirdest sight. End of a sub sticking straight up out of the water and just as steady as a lighthouse.
Hey, here comes the commander. I can see her hand coming up on the bow platform.
Yeah, and you still insist that girl is a friend of ours?
I know she is. Now sit up straight as you can.
All right, but I can't see very well, kid.
Keep your face pointed toward the noise of her voice. I'll do the talking.
What is the meaning of this?
Meaning of what?
That boat is becoming harder to move. I should think, Hall, that you would realize the hopelessness of your situation by this time and attempt no foolish moves.
Well, we can't help it if your Euclidean prisoner escaped and cut a hole in our boat, can we?
Where is the Euclidean guard now?
Oh, he's back there at the stern somewhere.
And what is he doing?
Taking a little nap last time I saw him.
Have you nothing to say, Captain Bradford?
Well, no. The captain, he's,
I understand perfectly. The captain is asleep.
He's mighty tired.
You haven't forgotten my teaching so quickly, have you, Hall? A ray gun will register on my instruments.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you know what's the matter with Tex, then? That Euclidean we thought was safely tied up in the hole was hiding somewhere in the boat, and he used his ray gun on the engineer and our skipper. And when we tried to catch him, Tex got a little of it, too.
What was the size of the gun?
Well, one of those little 300 seconds, like we've, like we had once.
That is well. And the guard is where now?
Well, he got rough with us back there near the engine room hatch, and I had to bump his head on a combing to keep him quiet.
You will do well to guard him closely until I deliver you safely to G47. That man will not hesitate to harm you.
No. I suppose you think old G47 is going to give us a picnic.
G47 will give you what he thinks your case warrants. Is the leak in your boat sufficiently repaired to indicate possibility of successfully towing you to Euclidia?
Well, it stopped leaking, if that's a big enough answer for you.
Your attempts to converse with me as an equal are rather futile, are they not?
Maybe so, but I get 'em said.
You have said far too much. I will resume my position under your bow, and the bow anchor will be picked up by the stern magnetic fin. We will reach the island in 1800 seconds.
Oh, half an hour, huh? Okay, Skipper. We'll hang on. How are Mrs. Gregory and Joan?
They are in my care.
That might mean anything.
Indeed, it might.
Golly whiskers. Now this is a fine pickle. McLeod and the old skipper asleep in the hole, and Tex sleeping on the rail, and, well, if that guard starts up this way, I hope I can handle him.
I'll help you, kid.
Oh, gee, Tex. Are you all right?
Well, I have felt better, but I'm waking up a little, and I can tell what goes on around me.
Well, the sub is going under again, and she'll be picking up our bow anchor any minute.
How much time did she say we had before we get to the island?
Half hour. Why?
Well, we might have a chance to plan a little something, but the hope isn't very strong.
And that Euclidean back there at the stern won't stay asleep much longer. If that's only a 300-second ray gun, he ought to be coming out of it now.
That sub just picked up our anchor?
Yeah, we're starting to move now. And the commander said only 1,800 seconds to Euclidean.
Oh, forget the 1,800-second stuff, Jerry. Let's talk like white people for the few minutes we have left.
Well, that stuff gets me, though. I'm getting so I talk just like those Euclideans.
Yeah, not exactly, but...
Hey! Here comes that Euclidean guard, sneaking around the corner of the aft cabin.
I can't see very well. Has he got his ray gun?
Sure he has.
Then you'll have to use yours if he crowds us.
But that way, he'll find out we have them.
He'll find it out anyway if he puts us to sleep and searches us.
Tex, wait a minute. I think we're going to be all right.
What's going on?
The old skipper. He's in his bare feet, sneaking up behind that Euclidean.
Has he got a gun?
No, but he's got a monkey wrench. And he's going to use it. Oh, boy, what a sound.
Did the skipper get him, Jerry?
I'll say he got him. And he'll be asleep longer than any of those ray guns would be good for. That old skipper can sure use a monkey wrench.